Best 35mm film SLR cameras. Part A. Manual focus cameras. 35mm film cameras are the dominant film cameras. Contax made the first 35mm SLR cameras. SLR stands for single lens reflex. From about 1950s, Japanese camera brands started to rise and began to dominate the camera market. Major manufacturers of 35mm SLR cameras include Nikon, Canon, Minolta, Pentax, and Olympus. Of these, Nikon makes the best manual focus cameras. Canon makes the best autofocus cameras. In today's video, Part A, I will introduce the best manual focus 35mm SLR cameras. It is hard to define the best because different people have different standards. My standard is mainly based on practical user market. A best camera must be the best-selling camera in its market. Therefore, my best professional camera is the best-selling camera in professional market, and my best amateur camera is the best-selling camera in amateur market. However, I am biased towards professional photographers' point of view because professional photographers use the best cameras regardless of price. Luxury brands such as Leica and Contax have expensive cameras, but they may not be included in my best camera list because from the practical point of view, few photographers use them. Leica made the best rangefinder cameras, but not the best SLR cameras. With that in mind, let's begin. Here is my list of best 35mm manual focus SLR cameras. I will explain in more detail. Section 1. Best professional manual focus 35mm SLR. Nikon F3. When we talk about the manual focus SLR cameras, Nikon dominated the professional market. The last and best professional manual focus 35mm SLR camera is Nikon F3. Nikon F3 was used by 70% of professionals at that time. In the same time period, there are similar professional cameras such as Canon F1, Pentax LX, and Olympus OM4T. Each of these cameras have certain advantages over Nikon F3, and I'm sure there are people claiming these the best SLR cameras. However, all of these added together only took 30% of the professional market. Therefore, from the objective point of view, I elect Nikon F3 to be the best 35mm SLR. What makes Nikon F3 so special? Actually, Nikon F3 does not have any unique feature that other cameras don't have. However, it has the most comprehensive features that a professional photographer needs. F3 was made with the highest quality standard and has the least defect rate after long-term use. Professionals can trust this camera in any situation and can accomplish any assignment. It is considered the most reliable camera during its 30 years of hard use. No other professional cameras have such long service history and reputation. Honorary mention. In the same category with F3, I can mention Canon F1, Pentax LX, and Olympus OM4T. As I mentioned earlier, these cameras combined took 30% of the professional market. Canon F1. This is the best manual focus camera made by Canon. It was meant to compete with Nikon F3. It was released in 1981, a year after F3. It has some advantages over F3, such as shutter priority auto exposure, and spot metering with special focusing screens. However, it also has some disadvantages. For example, its maximum shutter speed only reaches 1,000th of a second in aperture priority mode. It has a maximum speed of 2,000th of a second only with its mechanical shutter. Pentax LX. Pentax LX is the only professional 35mm SLR camera from Asahi Pentax. It has some advantages over f3. It is smaller and lighter than f3. However, very limited number of professional photographers chose Pentax LX, mainly due to its reliability issue. The infamous sticky mirror is just one of the problems. Nonetheless, Pentax LX is the best manual focus SLR from Pentax. Olympus OM4T. This is Olympus' flagship 35mm SLR camera and is truly very well built. The shell is made of titanium alloy, which is tougher and lighter than aluminum alloy. OM4T has advanced features, the most important one being multi-spot metering. Olympus calls it professional camera. However, the number of professionals using OM4T are very limited, particularly because it lacks wide selection of lenses and accessories. Section 2. Best Professional Mechanical 35mm SLR, Nikon F2AS. In today's world flooded with electronics, more and more people develop a special feeling for mechanics, especially when they shoot films. If you want the best professional mechanical 35mm SLR, it has to be Nikon F2AS. F2AS does not have any automation and is not as convenient to use as Nikon F3. However, people who shoot films may not emphasize convenience that much. Let's face it, if you want convenience, you should shoot digital cameras, not film cameras. F2 is an all-mechanical camera which does not rely on electronics. Nikon F2 dominated professional camera market of its time. No other mechanical cameras, including Canon F1, came even close to F2 in terms of market share. Unlike F3, which is a revolutionary camera, F2 is just an improvement over Nikon F camera. F2 keeps all the already excellent construction of the previous Nikon F body and improved upon it. This makes F2 more robust. F2 has several models depending on its interchangeable meter viewfinder. Among those, older meter versions such as DP1 viewfinder tend to lose efficiency after 50 years. DP12 is the last and the best viewfinder. An F2 fitted with a DP12 viewfinder is called F2AS. Nikon F2AS is widely recognized as the most reliable and best-made all-mechanical SLR camera of all time. Honorary mention. In the same category with Nikon F2AS, I can mention Canon F1. Canon F1 is Canon's answer to Nikon F and F2. It has some advantages and disadvantages as compared to Nikon F2. Its market share is much less than Nikon F2. Section 3. Best Advanced Amateur SLR, Nikon FM3A. FM3A was released in 2001 when film cameras were about to be replaced by digital cameras. Therefore, FM3 was produced in small quantity, not as popular as FM2. The camera industry believed that the game is over for manual focus cameras. and we enter digital age. However, Nikon seemed to be mentally attached to mechanical cameras and still wanted to show their capability and workmanship in mechanics. FM3 was a lonely hero without any competitor. It is Nikon's swan song of manual focus cameras. Nikon put all the learnings from its previous SLR cameras into this final manual focus camera. Nikon even took FM3A prototypes to Antarctica to test its survival of extreme conditions. How can it not be the best? FM3A was meant to be an upgrade of the mechanical camera FM2, but it is actually a combination of mechanical camera FM2 and electronic camera FE2, having both mechanical shutter and electronic shutter. This is unique. There is no other similar camera in the world in our history. The only issue with FM3A is its cost. Today, the price of one FM3A can buy several FM2s and FE2s. Honorary mention. If Nikon FM3A is too expensive, you can consider either FM2 or FE2. FM2 is a mechanical camera upgraded from FM. FE2 is an electronic camera upgraded from FE. These are high-end, semi-professional models. They are extremely well built, much better than other brands' non-professional cameras. They are widely used by professional photographers. Most professionals using Nikon F3 would carry an FM2 as a backup camera in their bags. It has a maximum shutter speed of 4,000 of a second, which is the highest shutter speed among all mechanical cameras. FM2 is universally recognized as the most reliable camera, does not rely on batteries to operate, and capable of working at extreme temperature conditions. Nikon mechanical cameras use Nikon's minimal space lubrication technology. With this technology, minimal or no grease is used between moving parts. This requires mechanical tolerances to be as tight as possible, requiring more precisely machined mechanical parts made of wear-resistant alloys. Other brands build their cameras with greater tolerances for adequate functioning and packed the voids with grease. In cold weather, the non-Nikon cameras tend to freeze up while the Nikons continue to operate. On the other hand, in very hot climates, the excess grease in non-Nikon cameras tend to melt and flow out from the camera, often combining with sand to jam the mechanism. Nikon cameras have accompanied more photographers to extreme environments than any other SLR cameras. There is no other mechanical camera of similar capability from other brands in the market to compete with FM2. Canon's last mechanical SLR is FTB, which was released in 1974. Since its release of electronic SLR AE1 in 1976, Canon does not have any new model of mechanical SLR camera. Similarly, Minolta stopped releasing any new mechanical SLR after 1977. Pentex's last mechanical SLR is MX, which was released in 1976. These mechanical SLRs are comparable to Nikon FM, which was released in 1977. There is no competitor to Nikon FM2, which was released in 1982. Nikon FM2 was produced for 19 years without any competitor, that came even close to it. Some people may mention Contax S2 or S2B, which were made by Yashica, but these cameras are more like luxury toys than practical tools. Contax S2 and S2B do not show aperture number in the viewfinder, do not accept motor drive, and have less sensitive meter system than FM2, and most of all, are less reliable than FM2. Contax S2 and S2B have more issues such as mirror fall off. Nikon FM2 has no real competitor and earned its reputation as the best compact mechanical SLR of all time. Nikon FE2 is also a favorite camera of professionals and advanced photographers. FE2 has a maximum shutter speed of 4,000th of a second. No other manual focus camera from other brands can come even close. FE2 has aperture priority auto exposure, TTL flash exposure, auto exposure lock, aperture direct readout in viewfinder, interchangeable focusing screen, and accepting motor drive. It also has a backup mechanical shutter in case the battery runs out. These features added together make FE2 the most powerful non-professional camera, not matched by any other brand's non-professional cameras. Its build quality is also unmatched by any other brand's non-professional cameras. In fact, FE2 was designed to attract not only advanced amateurs but also professional photographers who want to have a camera that is lighter than F3. Section 4. Best Entry-Level SLR, Canon AE1 Program. In manual focus camera period, Canon's market share of professional models is much smaller than Nikon. However, Canon's market share of amateur models surpasses Nikon. Canon AE1 program is the most popular amateur SLR camera. AE1 program is an upgrade of AE1. AE1 and AE1 program are two different cameras. I personally don't like AE1, but I like AE1 program a lot. AE1 program has shutter priority and program modes for automatic exposure. This is extremely helpful for amateurs. It also provides manual exposure mode for serious photographers. The camera interface is clean, the operation is simple, and it has a nice look that attracts most people. AE1 program is well made without any major issue, except the shutter squeak that was found in most A-series cameras. This issue is not fatal and can be fixed without too much cost. Honorary mention, Pentax K1000. Pentax K1000 is the most popular student camera in America because it is simple, reliable, and cheap. It's so simple that an experienced amateur doesn't need a manual to learn it, and that's why most photography class teachers recommend K1000 to their students. It is also very cheap, so that students can afford it. It's so simple that you can hardly break it. It has a durable metal construction. Pentax's other K-series cameras are more featured than K1000, but only have a couple of years of production. K1000 has been produced for 21 years. K1000 is not perfect. It is rather old by modern standard. For example, it uses cadmium sulfide metering element instead of the modern silicon photodiode. Because of its high reputation as a reliable student camera, its price keeps going up. Today, it is not that cheap anymore compared to other similar featured cameras. Here is the summary of the best 35mm manual focus SLR cameras. Section 5. Other good SLR cameras. In the above, I only listed a few best cameras. There are probably 100 SLR cameras ever known, and I'm sure I missed some of your favorite ones. Below, I will list some really good cameras. From my explanation, you will find out why they are not listed as the best cameras as I mentioned above. Canon FTB. This is Canon's last pure mechanical SLR and is comparable to Nichromat in terms of features, which is older than Nikon FM by one generation. Canon EF. It is a mechanical electronic blend camera. It is well built, large and heavy, and is an expensive model at its time, more expensive than the later AE1. However, it is considered old in features by today's standard. It uses mercury battery, which is not available today. When there is a choice between EF and AE1, people often choose the latter. Canon A1. This is the flagship of Canon A series electronic SLRs released in 1978. It was a tremendous success at its release because it is the first SLR that has shutter priority, aperture priority, program, and manual exposure modes in one camera. It is the most powerful model in the A series, but its shutter speed only reaches a maximum of 1,000th of a second. It lacks some advanced features such as auto exposure lock, aperture direct readout in viewfinder, and backup mechanical shutter. Canon T90. This is Canon's last manual focus SLR using FD lenses and is the flagship of the T series after A series. It looks like a modern EOS series camera and pioneered some features found in EOS autofocus cameras. It is Canon's most powerful manual focus SLR camera. However, it suffers from some defects such as sticky shutter and electronic issues. For this reason, its second-hand price is relatively low for a flagship camera. Minolta SRT-102. Minolta's best pure mechanical SLR and an improvement version of its popular SRT-101. It is the first SLR that has a Judas window in the viewfinder to let you see the lens aperture reading. SRT-102 is comparable to Nichromat mechanical SLRs in terms of build and features. It is older than Nikon FM and Pentax MX by one generation. When buying an SRT-102, make sure it has a mirror lock-up button because later models of SRT-102 got rid of this feature for the purpose of cost saving. Minolta XD11. It is called XD7 or XD outside America. This is an elegant metal-built SLR and was borrowed by Leica to build its R4, R5, R6, and R7 SLR cameras. It is the first SLR to combine shutter priority, aperture priority, and manual exposure modes into one camera. It has higher build standards than later X700, and because of this, some people consider XD11 to be the best manual focus SLR ever made by Minolta. Before XD11, Minolta released a professional SLR, XK, also called X1 or XM, but is not really successful in the market. After that, Minolta released an electronic SLR, XE7, which suffers from electronic issues. XD11 also has electronic issues. In addition, XD11 has leather peeling off issue. Minolta X700. Minolta has never gained significant market share in professional cameras, but its focus is on the amateur market. Minolta is the most innovative camera maker and brought numerous new technology and features into SLR cameras. Its early model of SRT-101 is a highly successful mechanical camera widely used in Vietnam War. Its later model of Maxim 7000 is the first commercially successful autofocus camera. But its best-selling camera is the manual focus and auto exposure model of X700. X700 has the highest feature-to-price ratio. It has aperture priority mode, program mode, and manual exposure mode. It has TTL automatic flash. It has the brightest viewfinder. It accepts motor drive for continuous shooting. It won the 1982 European Camera Award. However, with so many advanced features, its price tag is low. X700 buyers tend to believe that they bought a camera having lots of professional features, but only paid the price for an amateur camera. Good deal. Minolta X700 is generally a reliable camera, with the exception of its electric capacitor. X700 models made after 1985 utilized cheap capacitors for the purpose of cost saving. If your X700 dies someday, chances are that you need to have the capacitor replaced. Nichromat. Nichromat is a series of amateur cameras in early years, divided into F-series and E-series. Nichromat F-series are mechanical cameras, including Nichromat FT, FS, FTN, FT2, and FT3. Nichromat EL series are electronic cameras, including Nichromat EL, ELW, and Nikon EL2. These cameras are extremely well built, having top craftsmanship, and are super rugged. However, they are big and heavy. Their features are relatively old due to their age. Nichromat F-series are replaced by Nikon FM, and Nichromat EL series are replaced by Nikon FE. Nikon FM. Nikon FM is Nikon's first compact mechanical SLR camera, released in 1977. Remember, by 1977, major camera makers, Canon, Minolta, and Pentax, have stopped releasing new mechanical cameras because they shifted their effort to electronic cameras. Therefore, Nikon FM is the last mass-market mechanical SLR, except for its own FM2. I said last mass-market because later models such as Contax S2 and Leica R6 are not mass-market cameras. If there were no FM2, FM would be the last and the best 35mm mechanical SLR camera. FM2 is certainly better than FM, but FM does have one advantage over FM2, the lens compatibility. FM2 is compatible with AI lenses, AIS lenses, and any AF lenses that have an aperture ring. FM2 cannot take pre-AI lenses. FM, however, not only takes all those lenses that FM2 is compatible, but also takes pre-AI lenses. Nikon FE. FE is the electronic counterpart of the mechanical FM. FE was made in high quality and has all the fundamental features an advanced photographer needs. The major drawback, according to modern standard, is its maximum shutter speed that only reaches 1,000th of a second. If you need higher shutter speeds, you should choose FE2. Otherwise, FE is basically the same camera. It only has aperture priority auto exposure and manual exposure. It does not have shutter priority or program mode exposure found in Canon A1 and Minolta X700. However, for advanced photographers who don't care about those modes, FE is a better choice because it has features that they think are more important, such as backup mechanical shutter. FE is also more user-friendly than the other two. Most of all, unlike other brands' electronic cameras, FE is made to last. It is tough and ready to take abuse. Nikon FA. FA is Nikon's high-tech model. It adds matrix metering, program and shutter priority exposure modes to the FE2. It costs less than F3 but more than FE2 at that time. It is the most advanced manual focus camera from Nikon. However, due to its complex electronics, it tends to have more trouble than FE2, and when the trouble comes, it's more difficult to fix. For this reason, its second-hand price is even lower than FE2 today. Nikon FG. FG is a tiny SLR camera. It is an upgrade from Nikon EM. Nikon EM is an entry-level model that only offers aperture priority auto exposure mode. FG improves significantly and adds program mode and manual exposure mode to it. Unlike other electronic cameras, such as Canon AE1 program and the Minolta X700, which would be dead without a battery, all Nikon electronic cameras, including Nikon FG, have a backup mechanical shutter, which can operate without a battery. This makes FG a more reliable entry-level camera, even though it lacks some advanced features, such as automatic exposure lock. Olympus OM1. This is the best-selling SLR from Olympus. It is a mechanical camera that does not rely on battery to operate. It is beautifully made with shiny, polished metal surface. It is elegant and is one of the smallest SLR on the market. Lots of people buy it because of its good look. It is quite capable camera considering its age. It is released in 1972 and is older than Nikon FM for about half a generation. Its meter is an old cadmium sulfide meter and uses mercury battery, which is not available today due to environmental issues. Another major problem is that Olympus does not offer as many lenses as other SLR brands do. Because it is a relatively small brand, third-party lens makers didn't offer that many Olympus mount lenses either. You don't have a lot of lenses to choose. Pentax Spotmatic series. Spotmatic series are the major M42 mount SLRs in 1960s. Spotmatic was the best seller in SLR category at that time. Pentax was so successful with its Spotmatic series that the company was reluctant to switch to bayonet mount. M42 is a universal screw mount shared by quite a lot of manufacturers in the old days. If you want to play with M42 mount, Spotmatic is a good choice. However, they are old in features by today's standard. The viewfinder is dark, and most of them don't have open aperture metering or automatic exposure. Pentax K2. Pentax finally switched from M42 lens mount to K bayonet mount with its new camera K2 in 1975 because M42 screw mounts cannot handle automatic features that the market desired. It was a little too late. The market is already flooded with more advanced bayonet mount cameras from Nikon, Canon, Minolta, and Olympus. Pentax K2 is a mechanical electronic blend camera and has aperture priority auto exposure. It is the flagship of K series and generally considered reliable. However, it is still old by today's standard, and the viewfinder is relatively dark. Pentax KX. KX is a good mechanical SLR, far more advanced than K1000. It is generally considered reliable. Pentax MX. Pentax K series is basically Spotmatic series changed from M42 screw mount to bayonet mount. K series does not have significant advantage over other brands of its time. Therefore, Pentax terminated most of the K series models in a couple of years and released M series. MX is Pentax's best mechanical SLR and is the smallest mechanical SLR of all time. It is similar to Nikon FM in terms of features, with some advantages and disadvantages. However, it is not as robust as FM. Its defect rate is pretty high, partially due to its extremely small size. Pentax ME Super. ME Super is an improvement of its earlier model ME, which does not have manual exposure capability and is not recommended. ME Super, on the other hand, is an excellent amateur camera. It has aperture priority and manual exposure modes. It has a backup mechanical shutter. It is compact and elegant. It lacks some advanced features such as auto exposure lock. It is not really robust and has a relatively high defect rate as compared to other brands' similar models. Pentax Super Program. Pentax Super Program is called Super A outside America. It is a highly capable automatic SLR. It has aperture priority, shutter priority, program, and manual exposure modes, similar to Canon A1, but has a maximum shutter speed of 2,000 of a second. Pentax released a new series of KA mount lenses to match the automatic features of Super Program. Again, this camera has relatively high defect rate, so make sure you check all the features carefully when buying it. Ricoh KR5 III. Ricoh is not a major camera brand. Its cameras are mostly copies of other brands. This KR5 III is made by Cosina, similar to Nikon FM10. Both are based on Cosina C1S. It is mostly a plastic camera, but has all the basic features as an entry-level camera. Since it uses mature technology, it has relatively low defect rate and is generally considered reliable. It is a good student camera and a true bargain as compared to Pentax K1000, with which it shares the lens mount. Fujica ST801. This is the most advanced M42 screw mount mechanical SLR. M42 mount cameras are generally old, using mercury battery and old cadmium sulfide metering elements with shutter speed not exceeding 1,000th of a second. ST801, however, uses modern alkaline battery SPD metering element with a maximum shutter speed of 2,000th of a second. It is made of metal and is rather compact. Its film advance lever is rather weak. If you want to have a good M42 mount SLR, ST801 is a good candidate. Contax RTS3. This is a high-end SLR with a maximum shutter speed of 8,000th of a second. It has a unique feature of a vacuum pressurized film plate that would suck the film flat against it at the moment of exposure to maintain absolute flatness. However, the practical significance of this feature is negligible. It is undoubtedly a powerful camera. However, the camera suffers a poor reputation of electronic failures. The camera is not cheap due to its luxury brand. Leica R6.2. This is the best mechanical SLR from Leica. It is based on Minolta XD11, but is more beautifully made and has higher features such as 2,000th of a second of shutter speed and selective metering. Leica released R7, R8, and R9 later. However, Leica offered very limited lenses for R series. You don't have many lens selection, even if you can afford it. They are not widely used as a practical tool. They are worth trying if you don't mind the price. At the end of this video, I would like to tell you that I like practical tools rather than fancy toys. I also prefer cameras with low defect rate after long-term use. Those having high defect rate will not be my favorite, even if they have fancy features. Most cameras don't show defects when they are new. However, today we are buying these cameras that are 40 to 50 years old. To me, reliability is more important than fancy features. I have been a film camera user for decades, and I have used most of the aforementioned cameras. I am also a camera collector and personally own quite some best SLR cameras. This video is made based on my personal experience and numerous articles and documents I have read over the years. If you have different opinions and different choices of the best cameras, it's totally understandable and I won't argue with you. I hope to share my learning to friends who like film cameras. Thank you for watching.